right, good afternoon, everyone. We're just going to give another minute or two before we get ready to get started. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our State Financial Aid webinar for the month of July. My name is Deshay Reed, and I am the Director 3 overseeing the Operations Department within the Student Financial Aid Programs Division. And today's presentation will be recorded. As a reminder, we will have the video and PDF versions of this presentation available on our Student Financial Aid website under the Stay Connected Webcast archive for your convenience. And we will also send an announcement once it is available. So we'll put it in chat so you'll know exactly where that location is. Also joining me today will be Tanisha Coulter. She's the Director of Financial Aid Services, and she'll be monitoring the chat to answer any questions that you may have. So what we'll be covering today, we'll have an overview of the 24-25 program guidelines, an introduction to the new Nursing Student Scholarship Program, the intent to participate process in the grant and aid processing platform, also known as GAP, as well as we'll go over some deadlines, reminders, and notifications. So again, if you have any questions during the presentation, just make sure to drop them in the chat box and we'll address them throughout today's presentation. So for our 24-25 programs guidelines, we published all of our guidelines in early June. Each year, the guidelines are revised to reflect any updates to the Texas Education Code and the Texas Administration Code, as well as we do try to enhance guidance for institutions to administer our state financial aid programs. We do an update to our program guidelines to include any revisions to our program years, new deadlines, adjusted award amounts, and updated appendices. So these annual updates are consistently applied across all of our program guidelines. And additionally, what we did do this year is we made sure to kind of revamp and align the coordinating board's branding on our program guidelines. So you'll see that throughout all of our program guidelines that were published. So let's kind of go over some key changes to each of the program guidelines. So what I'll do is I'll be highlighting different kind of alert boxes, additional guidance, and other significant updates. So what I will do is get started with the exemption and scholarship programs. So for our bilingual education, we updated the appendix to include Rider 43 of the General Appropriations Act from the House Bill 1, Article 3. This is what establishes the program and provides the criteria that's listed for the program. This will change every biennium. So you'll find that every time we introduce this program, we will change that particular rider. For our educational aid exemption program, we revised the critical shortage list to reflect what the Texas Education Agency has for their critical shortage areas. And then for our Texas Armed Services Scholarship Program, we updated the promissory note section on page 3 to align with the amendments in the Texas Administrative Code. So for our state loan programs, the College Access Loan and the Ford program have been updated with some significant improvements. The new manageable debt section clarifies how the manageable debt process can impact a student's loan. So we added that section. And additionally, we did some updates to the repayment sections to align with the provisions in the Texas Administrative Code. So for our state work study program, which includes the Texas College Work Study and Mentorship Program, it went through some updates. So this is one particular guideline. In the past, we had 2 separate guidelines, but last year we combined it into one. So it will continue. So what we did for this year, we added an alert box to explain the transition of the expected family contribution to the student aid index for calculating a student's financial need. Additionally, we put in an allocation section to clarify that allocations will be combined into a single allocation for both years of the biennium, with institutions required to disperse at least 25% of their allocation to students in the mentorship program if your institution is planning to participate in both the Texas College Work Study and mentorship program. And then also we wanted to highlight that you have the ability to request funds throughout the academic year, including summer, via the GAP. So Transfer Grant and Taxes First. These are our 2 newly released program guidelines for the 24-25 year. Just to go over some key highlights within these program guidelines, we included student eligibility requirements. We did some updated timelines and methods for awarding these particular funding for these funds. We also did some reporting procedures so institutions understood the compliance for these programs and understood the regulations for the programs. Additionally, the guidelines do include an explanation of that EFC that we talked about earlier for the methodology for calculating a student's financial need, along with the appendices providing additional resources to support the program administration for both programs. So let's kind of go over some state grant updates. So we did the updates to the Texas Grant and TOG programs to include setting the priority EFC to 6,472. We updated the alert box to clarify the definition of exceptional need for our TEG program. And then all 3 program guidelines will feature an alert box about the extension of the 24-25 state priority deadline. And then additionally, we added that new alert box that talks about that EFC to the student aid index. One thing I did want to point out is I want to go a little bit deeper about the TEOG because that had the most significant changes in the program guidelines. I wanted to point out that the alert box for TOG had been updated to reflect statutory changes from House Bill 8 that passed during the 88th legislative session. This bill removed the previous restriction on using Pell Grant funds to cover the difference between TOG awards and the actual tuition and required fees. But although the amendment was effective back in September 1st, the change doesn't apply until fall 24. So just this upcoming fall semester is when you can actually start applying that new rule. Additionally, the TG program had some more statutory changes that we included in some alert boxes. So we had an alert box to talk about covering tuition and fees just so it could align with the new rule changes. And then we also talked about the eligibility requirements, that there is a new requirement. So we added an alert box that provided the revised definition of an entering undergraduate as a student enrolled in the first 45 attempted semester credit hours, which was previously the 30 credit hours, and the updates to the definition of a certificate program to include level 1, level 2 certificates, occupational skill awards, and other credentials of value, which are covering both the academic and career and technical education courses. We have received several questions regarding this update to allowing what we'll now consider continuing education students. So I wanted to kind of just point out just some of the questions we received and kind of highlight some important information about it. So all eligibility requirements for the TEG program are outlined again in our Texas Administrative Code, and they are detailed in the TEOG program guidelines. So because of the recent updates that are supporting the continuing education students with TEOG, we wanted to make sure that we kind of address what changes are applicable and what changes are not. So for eligibility, there are no additional federal financial aid requirements. Eligibility is still governed by that Texas Administrative Code and what you see in the guidelines. For the SAP requirements, we've gotten a lot of questions I'd asked about SAP. This type of change for SAP would require any statutory amendments. So there are no changes to SAP when it comes to TEOG and continuing education students. The credit hours, eligibility is still based on attempted, and it's not based on earned, but it is still based on attempted semester credit hours. And currently we don't have any separate guidelines that are going to be established for non-credit or continuing education or any workforce training programs. So what you will find in the TEOG guidelines will apply to all students who could be eligible for TEOG, regardless if it's credit or non-credit. So before we go any further into our agenda, and before we jump into the Nursing Student Scholarship Program, want to really test out your skills with some fun facts. And we want to see how much you actually know about why this particular program was very important to our legislators. So let's go ahead and see how much do you know about nursing. So fun fact number 1. What is the projected shortage of full-time nurses in Texas? And you will see something that should pop up on your screen. If you don't have the capability of the question popping up on your screen, you can put it in chat. So A, B, or C is, what is the projected shortage of full-time nurses in Texas? Is it 30,000, 50,000, or 60,000? What do you think is a shortage of nurses in Texas? I see a lot of different answers over here in chats. We got a lot of B's, a couple of A's, C's, B's. Mm. All right. Let's see. All right. So how many of you selected C? 60,000. 60,000. So that is the projected shortage of full-time nurses in Texas. That's huge. That is huge, which is definitely the reason why we are introducing this particular program here. So let's kind of talk about the Nursing Student Scholarship Program. So it was funded by the legislators during the 88th legislative session. It was designed to support healthcare and educational needs by providing scholarships to eligible professional and vocational nursing students. So public and private institutions of higher education are eligible to participate in this program. So it is a program that is an optional program, but we're definitely wanting all institutions to really opt into this program. And I'll go over kind of what that means later on in this presentation. So we're not done asking fun facts. And so we're going to go into another fun fact to kind of test out your skills later on. So the program rules for this particular program are hopefully being adopted by our board today. So they are actually meeting today. So they're scheduled to meet today to look at this program and look to potentially adopt these rules for this program. So if adopted, then the Nursing Student Scholarship fact sheet that we have created will be published and available to institution following the board's adoption of the new rules. The fact sheet is going to outline the requirements from the Texas Education Code and the Texas Administrative Code, and it will serve as a resource, but it doesn't supersede the official statutes or rules for the program. What we will plan to do, because it's just a fact sheet for the 24-25 year, but going into the 25-26 year, we will create guidelines. So typically what we do anytime we introduce a new program, we do a fact sheet first, and then the following year, we will do a more comprehensive guideline to give you more information about it. Okay, so like I said, we're still going to continue to test out your skills to see how much do you know. So who is considered the founder of modern nursing? You have your selections here, A, B, or C. And I see plenty of C's, of course, in chat. No one wanted to select Dr. Dre? No? Okay. Y'all didn't think he was part of modern nursing? Um, all right. So definitely, yes, the Florence Nightingale is correct. So for all of you who made C as your selection, you are correct. So let's kind of go through some of the eligibility requirements for this particular program. So listed are the eligibility requirements for a student to participate in a scholarship program. This will include Texas residency, financial need, of course, our selective service. Selective service is still a requirement for state funding. So any school participating in our state programs, we still require selective service. And the enrollment, at least half-time basis in a professional vocational nursing program, and then, of course, STAP. So as you see here, which you'll also find in the fact sheet, like I said, you'll see all the eligibility requirements for this particular scholarship. One thing I did want to point out, and I didn't mention it earlier, but I want to go ahead and make it mention here. In our program guidelines, we did used to say be a Texas resident classified by the institution. You may have noticed that in our program guidelines, we no longer say classified by an institution. Although we do not say that, it does not mean that institutions don't still classify students to be a Texas resident. The only reason that we remove that particular language is so we could align that with the rules with our administrative code. And so you heard me say earlier that, again, our guidelines do try to align with the administrative code or education code. So in this particular case, although you may not see something that says classified by the institution as it relates to residency, institutions are still the ones that will determine residency. So that is not something that went away. The language may have changed in the guidelines, but it still applies. Institutions still determine residency. It is not something that the agency will be determining. So we still put that on the institutions to determine that residency. But again, it just aligns with what we have written into our administrative code. So again, be a resident of Texas and all the other requirements that are listed here for a student to be eligible for the program. All right, we're going to keep rolling with these fun facts, so we're not done yet. So when is International Nurses Day? May 12th, which is A. B, Florence Nightingale's birthday, B, or C, A and B. So A, May 12th, B, Florence Nightingale's birthday, or C, A, and B. Right, I have a variety of answers coming through chat. I got some A's, some B's, some C's, some A's, B's, C's. All right. So, kind of like a trick one, right? Trick question. How many of you chose C? Because it's all the same, right? Just waking y'all up for the afternoon to see if you guys are with us. So A and B. It's Florence Nightingale's birthday. It's May 12th. So couldn't go wrong. Couldn't go wrong. All right. Let's keep it going. What do you think the average salary for RNs in Texas is? So this is a good one. What are you thinking that the average salary for RNs in Texas is? Is it A, 54,000, B, 74,000, or C, 84,000? All right, I got some A's, some B's and A's and B's. Okay, right. No one thinks C. Not no one thinks 84,000? No one thinks 84,000? B. It is C, 84,000. So so now that you kind of learn about what RNs could on an average salary make, let's kind of like jump into this will lead us right into scholarship amounts. So let's talk about that. So scholarship amounts for the nursing student scholarship program. This will depend on the type of institution. So because I mentioned earlier that institutions, both public and private, can participate in this program. Depending on the institution type that you are, these amounts are tied to the maximum grant amounts for the state, your other state financial aid grant programs like your Texas grant, your TOG, and your TEG. So for TOG, for public junior colleges, state colleges, and technical colleges, Texas grant for public universities and health-related institutions, and TEG for private and independent universities. And institutions set the award maximum as 1/2 for the TG maximum because that figure is calculated on an analyzed annual basis. So what you see actually in front of you here is the way that these amounts are based on the maximum scholarship amounts or per semester will are listed here, and we listed based on that semester base. So for TEG, again, that award maximum was 1/2 of the TEG because it's on an annual basis, whereas TEOG and Texas grant maximums are semester based. So these award maximums are implemented just to kind of create a administrative ease and flexibility for institutions, as well as this also will help us when we're looking at this allocation methodology when we're doing allocations for this particular program. And it will vary during that allocation methodology because tuition and fee cost of the different types of institutions have to be accounted for when we're looking at that calculation. So again, you'll actually see these scholarship amounts in that particular fact sheet once it's available to you all after the adoption of these program rules by the board. So that gives you kind of an idea. Again, this is all dependent on the type of institution you are, will determine what award semester maximum you can actually use for a student that's eligible for the nursing student scholarship program. All right, so got one or two more fun facts just to kind of test you out here. So, what percentage of nurses were male in 1970? I mean, I know most of y'all won't know this question because you weren't even around in the 1970s. So, we have some pretty young people around here. So, but just take your best educated guess on this one. Oh. Got a couple of A's, I see. C, looking good. A couple of C's. All right. Let's see what we have. A. So for all of you who did A was 2.7%. So in the 1970s, that percentage of nurses that were male were 2.7%. So that was in the 1970s. Where do you think it is in the 2020s? So what percentage of nurses are male in the 2020s? Have we progressed since then? Have we moved up? Have we increased that percentage? Um, A 13%, B 33%, C 43%. How many of you all think, we've done a significant improvement from the 1970s to the 2000s? Um, I see all over the board A, B's, and C's throughout the chat. Let's see, how far have we come? 13%. So A, better than 2.7. So we have moved up to 13%. All right. So that will give you, like, again, an introduction to the program. We Once the program rules have been adopted, just as a recap, we'll send out some resource materials to kind of give you, again, some of this information that I provided, a little bit more meat. We'll talk about the eligibility requirements, the hardships. We'll also talk about priorities. We'll talk about a little bit more within our fact sheet, so you have a better understanding of the administration of the program. And again, this was just more of an introduction so you understood. One of the key things that I mentioned earlier, and this is what will introduce us into the intent to participate, was, as I stated, that all institutions are able to participate in this program. And so preliminary allocations will be released after the program rules are adopted, and they will be shared with institutions for comment and verification with a 10 working day review period before final posting. So what that means is that we have considered all institutions here to be participating in the Nursing Student Scholarship Program. So that means everybody on here is already considered participating in the Nursing Student Scholarship Program. During this 10-day review period, this is where you'll have the opportunity to confirm your intent to participate in the Nursing Student Scholarship Program, or you can choose to opt out of the program. And so what I want to make sure to do is kind of walk you through the process, the intent to participate process through the gap, so you'll understand kind of what that means. This is the first time that institutions will use this process to confirm their intent to participate. If some of y'all recall in the past, you normally have some kind of form where you're doing your intent to participate through the form. You're actually no longer going to use a form. You're actually going to come through the GAP system, and you're going to do your intent to participate, whether it's Nursing Student Scholarship or any other program that requires intent to participate. So this will be the standard way going forward for all programs that require intent to participate process. So let's kind of walk through what that means. So again, all schools are considered participating in the program, and this is a way to confirm that participation, or if you choose to opt out, you'll go through the same process. So let's walk through it to see what this looks like. So let's talk about the roles, like actually who can come into GAP and complete the intent to participate. So the GAP roles that can complete the intent to participate are the primary point of contact and the secondary point of contact. So those are the only two roles that can actually do this intent to participate process in GAP. Not the reporting official, not the business, only the primary point of contact and the secondary point of contact. So what you'll do is once you're logged in as either the primary point of contact or the secondary point of contact, once you log into the GAP portal, you'll need to click on the institutional profile tile, which will be on your home screen. So you see there listed here that you have in our box, the institutional profile. From there, once you click that box, you'll come to what is in the far right-hand corner, the complete opt-in process. So in your top right-hand corner, you'll go to the complete opt-in process. You may not see it very well, but when you log in, you'll see it in the top right-hand corner that's next to the assign eligibility. You'll see complete opt-in process. This will only occur when we have made available time for you to actually do an intent to participate for the program. That's when this box will be available for you. So once you go there, you will, on the intent to participate page, you will see a list of programs. Currently, you will only have the option to select the Nursing Student Scholarship because none of our other programs are going through the intent to participate process. We've already closed out that process for all the others who would be a part of it. And so you'll only see the Nursing Student Scholarship Program. And you'll either opt in to confirm that you want to continue to be part of the allocation process and participate, or opt out in the drop-down menu. So when you come across it, it'll give you the opportunity to select opt-in, and that's just saying, yep, we're going to continue to be part of this program. Please continue to have us be a part of that allocation process for final allocations, or you know what? No, we're not going to be part of the program for 24-25, and you would have selected opt out. So you have to make a selection when you come to this page. There is no other option but to make one or the other, opt in or opt out, which is very important. You have to take an action. So you opt in if you want to continue to participate, you opt out, of course, if you're choosing to opt out. So once you've made your selection, then you must select submit to finalize, and you'll get a success message, and then you'll have an opportunity to download the selection for your records. What you'll have to do is you'll need to hit the close button in order to go back to your intent to participate. So once you have finalized your intent to participate, you can go into the intent to participate request section to view a history of all your requests made in GAP. If you want to go back and just see, or if you just wanted to kind of see what you did for the Nursing Student Scholarship, especially if you need to show this to others in your institution, your other leadership that wants to know what you've done. So you'll select the institution request name, which you see in the second box that says for the illustration purposes, IR-00519. So under where it says IR name, that's considered the institution request name to display the request details page. On the request details page, under the notes and attachments section that will pop up, you will find your intent to participate form. And what you'll do is you'll be able to view and download a PDF for your records. So again, if you want to keep one for your records, so you know what you've ever opted in or opted out of. So you will have, again, two options throughout this process to download the results from your intent to participate. So like I said before, only the two roles that can actually do this is the primary point of contact or the secondary point of contact. We will send out an announcement in those preliminary allocations once it's been determined that the rules have been adopted by our board. We'll send that out. You'll see a listing of all the schools. We are considering everyone as participating. You will confirm your participation, whether you want to continue or you don't want to continue, but you'll have to go through GAP to confirm that intent to participate. So when you do that through the GAP system, it'll be recorded. So when it's time for us to do final allocations and send that out, We will only do final allocations for those who have said they will continue to opt in and want to continue to participate in the Nursing Student Scholarship Program for 24-25. 24-25 ends the biennium year. So if there is a question on whether or not we choose not to do it for 24-25, will it roll over? The answer will be funding doesn't roll over to 25-26. That starts our new biennium. So 24-25 ends the second year of our biennium, just to point that out. Okay. I know there probably was a lot of questions related. I'm not sure if they were all related to what we just went through, but hopefully they've been answered. And feel free, even after this presentation, if you want more information about it, if I will make sure to connect with anybody who needs more information about the process. But for now, let's kind of go through some more deadlines, reminders, and notifications. Okay. So, some deadlines, reminders, and notifications just to bring to your attention. August 1st, this is the last day to submit a funds request for all 23-24 program funds through GAP. So if you still have some funding that you want to use for 23-24, you can request by August 1st. 23-24 was a first year of our biennium. You don't have to request your funds. They can carry forward into the 24-25 year. And you don't have to do anything for those funds to carry forward. My team will know what funds are carrying forward into the second year of the biennium, which is 24-25 fiscal year. And we will present some revised allocations showing your carry forward after this 23-24 fiscal year ends and we start the 24-25 year. But if you still want to request any funds for 23-24, especially if you're finishing out summer, you have until August 1st to do so. But with that, the Texas Comptroller does a shutdown. So that's every year Texas Comptroller does a shutdown. So August 30th through this September 3rd is the Texas Comptroller shutdown. This will impact any loan disbursements that were scheduled during this time. So if you were an institution or you're at an institution that may have wanted some loans from our loan programs to come during this time frame, then we have probably already contacted you. I'm sure my team has contacted all impacted institutions, encouraging them to modify their loan disbursements because of the Texas Comptroller shutdown. And this is every year. So one thing we try to encourage institutions is probably not to do any loan disbursements after mid-August, just because of the timing of the Texas Comptroller shutdown. So again, anything after September 3rd, business will resume most likely on September 6th for us to pick up processing. If you recall, we sent out a notification in July, so July 17th, about the interest rate change. So just as a reminder that new applications for Cal and Forward received by the coordinating board will carry a new interest rate. So a notice has also been sent to all borrowers that were in school deferment, notifying them of the change, as well as we posted this to our website that we house our loan information on, which is HH Loans. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, we sent this out as a notification. So we have a lot of notifications, although they say recent and they go all the way back to June. It's just to kind of show the dates that we sent out all of the program guidelines. And then also we sent out a notification on July 11th. So as I discussed, the 24-25 program guidelines that were released. If you hadn't had a chance to read them, I encourage you to check them out. And you'll see the dates that they were published. And then also for private institutions who were waiting for the TG engagement guide that was released on July 11th, there were 2 new agreed upon procedures added to the engagement guide. So just make sure you have that latest version that you can provide to your external auditor. And then I've already talked about the interest rate change. just to provide you all some upcoming memos to be on the lookout for, even though they're not listed here, I just want to let you all know. I already talked about the Nursing Student Scholarship Fact Sheet, again, that being released. Again, that preliminary allocation and data review, that will be sent to the financial aid directors only. So be on the lookout for that. So anything that's dealing with data or allocations will always be sent to the financial aid directors. So if you don't have a financial aid director or there's an interim, um, we only go by what's in our notification system. So when we send out notifications, it's anyone that's in our notification system. So hopefully we have the most recent information on file for everyone, but that's going to go to the financial aid directors. We're also going to send out an announcement about the 24-25 FAST PPAs. So for institutions who are participating in our FAST program, we're going to send an announcement out about when to expect those program participation agreements, as well as the deadlines for reporting, upcoming reporting. So I talked about ways to be connected when I said about our listserv and our notification system. So just kind of want to quickly, briefly, just go back through other ways. Of course, many of y'all may know how to reach us by phone. And so we have several ways that we can be reached. We have several areas for our borrowers, which is our current borrowers or co-signers who have any kind of payments, postponements, or any inquiries about their student account. We have a dedicated line for them that you see up here. We also have a dedicated line for our public that want to call in to ask any general financial aid questions. And then also, of course, we have our dedicated phone line for you. If you want to call in and talk to us, we only close that dedicated line between the hour of 12 and 1 for lunch. As an alternative, of course, you can definitely submit online inquiry through our Contact Us web form, and you can find that throughout many different websites, our College for All Texans, our HH Loans, our agency website. We do ask that when you do submit a Contact Us, that you make sure to put that you're an institution. Of course, it'd be helpful to tell us what institution, why what your contact reasons. So if you can at least tell us what you want to discuss, and then a good description. It's very helpful if you have a good description of your situation of what you're sending us for. A telephone number, even though it's not required, it is very helpful, especially if we need to call you about the question. Sometimes sending out an email isn't always useful. As we all know, we have probably thousands of emails that come in a day. So having a telephone number where we can pick up the phone and call you would be very helpful as well. Then also we have another way of contacting us if you have questions or inquiries about transactions or payment requests through our GAP portal. You can also send a GAP help desk ticket. You can enter the subject, select your request type, and then select the program type so we know what you want to discuss. And then, of course, entering a description about what is going on or what type of question you have for that transaction. And then, of course, just hit the submit button to send your requests. So we went over a lot of stuff today, and hopefully it's been very informative. Hopefully you learned a little bit more with these fun facts if you didn't already know. And so what I want to do is first make sure that all your questions have been answered, because I saw a lot of different questions going through the chat. But for those of you who may not have had a question, if you can do me a favor and take this minute or two just to use your camera. Hopefully you have a cell phone right now nearby, and it's 3 questions. Very simple. It'll take you less than a minute to fill out this quick survey. Let me know how we did or how I did so we can make sure that going forward, we can give you what you need as financial aid administrators who are administering our state financial aid programs. So I